This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Quite excited by this. In about 2021, I bought a Strymon Blue Sky, and I made a video about it, and I said why I bought a Blue Sky in 2021, and someone in the comments, which I thought at the time was mean, said, and also video to follow why I sold a Big Sky. And it turns out he was actually right. Anyway, so what's interesting about this is that Strymon has now gone native, and I think for a long time people have been hoping for some sort of editing software for the timeline or, you know, the big units. That's not what's happened, but we've now got kind of a plugin version of these things. I wanted to go through this with you. The small elephant in the room is the big price. Let me know in the comments if this is too rich for you or whatever, or if you think it's good value. Let me know your thoughts. For me personally, I feel like if you price this somewhere lower, you might have had a plugin on your hands where every guitarist thinks, well, I want this. As it's priced, it's a little bit of a niche maybe. On with the video.
Now, this video should have been a lot easier to make. As I said in the introduction, I was quite excited to try this. Put together a video. I had a Strymon Big Sky. I no longer have one. He was right. The idea of having access to these reverbs within a DAW, I thought, well, that would work really well. Unfortunately, In Reaper, I couldn't get the plugin to work at all. It just turned the whole project into like a bit crush thing. So I think what was happening was that it was too hot on CPU. And then I downloaded Traction, which is another DAW, and I could run it in there, but I could run up to 5 instances, and then the whole project kind of turned into a glitchy mess again. So I think there's some sort of inefficiency going on with the VST on Windows at least. I don't know for sure, but my device falls, I think, well within the specifications needed to run this. And in any case, it's not a problem I've ever run into with any other plugins like Helix Native, Neural DSP. You know, all the projects that I run all the time have way more going on in them, and you'd think that one Blue Sky plugin would be considerably less than the whole of the rest of my projects. Anyway, so I think there's more work to be done from Strymon to get that plugin actually working for Windows users. Let me know in the comments if you've had success with it or similar experience. That was a bit disappointing, and it would have been a different video had that not been the case. I'd have been able to do a bit more and show you how it works. The interface itself is pretty clean and good to use. You've got the 12 algorithms from the actual Big Sky, and they've sort of, the middle panel you'll see changes depending on what the algorithm does. One of the cool things is that as you move around, it will remember the settings on each of the kind of 12 dials. So you could just have one preset where you have your go-to things. For instance, you know, in the middle of the video there, you saw the things that I gravitate towards, like the plate, the swell, the cloud, the chorale. I really like that choir one. I think that's incredibly useful and sort of could add a whole new dimension to a lot of different things. Also, the Magento is like a tape delay, right? With diffusion and smear and all that stuff. So in terms of what could be possible if they get the plugin up and running, or maybe it is just an isolated incident with me and my weird little computer, then I think there would be some really cool sounds in there. What is quite incredible, I think, is to think that Strymon have really done nothing to update this particular set of units, like the timeline, the Morbius, and also the Big Sky, which we're talking about, and yet still today they're incredibly relevant and some really cool sounds. And I think the thing with this plugin is, for producers and stuff like that, apparently the Strymon stuff is quite popular within the film composing world. And for those guys, if they can get it to run in their projects, then this is going to save a bunch of time. You know, you no longer have to sort of go through and print something through an outboard piece of gear if you're using the Strymon kind of Big Sky plugins to get your sounds and to do your production. Now it's just there at the click of a button on a plugin. I also think the actual Big Sky to use itself is a little bit tricky these days. You know, you've got a very small screen and a lot of menus and stuff, whereas this plugin is just all there and ready for you to go. So I think that's a really good thing. And the idea of Strymon going native as well and getting away from being entirely hardware based, I think is a cool thing. As I said, I think so many people have wanted for years to be able to have like a PC editor for some of this Strymon stuff. If you had a PC editor for Timeline, for Morbin time, and for Big Sky, I think that would again reinvigorate those people that may have gone off those units for a bit. I think those devices, to me, deserve a PC editor if people want them. Maybe this is a sign that that could be a possibility, and if that is never the case, at least there is now a plugin version of it, which is sort of like if you were using a PC editor in a way. I don't know if you'll be able to transfer presets from this to the Big Sky. Not sure about that, probably not. Yeah, the only kind of red flag for me, well, two red flags actually. One, that it wouldn't work on my computer particularly well or at all in Reaper. And when I did use it in Traction, the CPU was at like 70%, and then by the time I'd added 4 more instances of it, it was no longer really working. So that's a bit of a worry. And the second worry is that $199 seems to me to be a little bit expensive. I think that's my opinion on it anyway. Although you could kind of think, well, there are 12 reverb algorithms. I don't know how much you'd pay for one specific reverb algorithm in general. And if these are a part of your workflow anyway, if you were using the hardware things in a professional setting, then this is going to streamline your process massively. But I do think that if they priced it lower than this, then you'd still have those people that would buy it, but you'd also have the interested, the casual guitarist, or the person that loves the pedals but now has to use a DAW. You know, people would drop, I think, £30, £50 on this without really thinking about it, and probably like almost everyone might do that in a way that at 199, I don't know, to me that seems a little bit like you're cutting off quite a chunk of audience, especially for a digital piece of stuff which most of the work was already done for 10 years ago or whatever. If you are looking for these sorts of sounds and you don't want to spend any money, I would give a shout out to Valhalla's Supermassive, which is like a delay, diffusion delay engine with modulation. You can do a lot of this kind of stuff with that, an incredible plugin and incredibly free, so check that out. Those are my thoughts on Strymon's first plugin. I feel like maybe there was a bit more beta testing needed for the Windows users. Happy to do that if you want Strymon. A great idea. Not sure it's quite there yet, but a really simple interface which is cool. Presets, all that sort of stuff that you'd like, and a price that is...
Yep.